They laughed when you left. Now they regret it. They laughed when you stayed. They mocked your loyalty, thought your silence meant you were weak. They treated your presence like a free buffet. But then you left. No big announcement, no drama, just gone. Like a king leaving a court that didn't deserve him. Suddenly they felt it. Something new. Uncertainty. First, confusion. Why did they leave? They're replaying everything you said, your looks, even your silence. Trying to find the exact moment they lost their grip on you. Then comes guilt. Not about being wrong, but about losing out. They remember all the stuff you just gave away. Your time for free. Your loyalty to people who didn't earn it. But it's too late now. You don't appreciate what's always there. Being around doesn't cause hate. Causes blindness. Your mind gets dull, full of what you expect, and stops seeing the value. Someone always around, always available, whose presence is a given. They become like furniture. Useful maybe, but never admired, never feared, never missed. They're just there. But the second they're gone, when you can't count on them being there anymore, they're forced to face themselves, not you. They start feeling something worse than anger. The realization they were draining a well they thought would never run dry. Their comfort was built on someone else's sacrifice. What they thought was normal was actually amazing. It's not your words making them realize this. It's you not being there. When you're around, people judge by what's easy. When you're gone, they judge by memory. And memory, unlike the present, is brutally clear. They start valuing what you brought. Your effort, your time, your loyalty. Not as a backdrop, but as something they can't get back. They remember the easy chats, the help they got instantly, how reliable you always were. And they realize those things weren't owed. They were gifts. Your choice. Maybe a mistake, but still gifts. And when a giver suddenly stops giving, people start facing their own ignorance. Some call it guilt. But it's not moral guilt. It's calculated guilt. Like losing a resource you can't replace. They don't feel sorry. They just have to rethink their lives without you. Absence clears away the fake stuff. When you were there, they saw you as weak, needy, always coming back. Your kindness looked like a must-have. But now, in your silence, they face a scary thought. You were never the needy one. You were the one holding it all together. And by leaving, you show how fragile they are. This is the real power of absence. It makes them uncomfortable. It messes with the air they were breathing easy. Creates a space they don't know how to fill. And that space, your space, only becomes precious when it's empty. Just threatening to leave isn't enough. Words are cheap. People only believe you're gone when they feel it. When they can't hear your voice anymore. When your attention isn't up for grabs. When they can't summon you whenever they want. That's when they start to figure out what you were worth. Thinking doesn't come from talking. Comes from silence. The mind gets loud when no one else is talking. They replay what you said. The warnings. The final words. The little moments they ignored now feel huge. What used to annoy them is now haunting. What made them feel powerful now makes them feel exposed. Every tiny detail they brushed off now proves they messed up. This is the trap they fall into. They thought you'd never leave. And now that you have, their whole view of you changes. Not because you changed, but because you acted. You forced them to rethink, and by doing that, you became something scarier than a rival. You became a memory with power. Someone they can't reach and therefore can't control. Absence makes them realize the game wasn't theirs. The second you step away, the stage goes dark. The roles don't make sense anymore. The center is gone. They're left with echoes. And in those echoes, they hear the truth they ignored for too long. They see your value not from your words or actions, but from the space you used to fill and now left empty. The biggest mistake people make is thinking the one who stays has the power. They think being there means you're in their control. But true power isn't shown by obeying or enduring. It's shown by walking away, calmly, with no appeals, and letting silence do what words never could. Walking away isn't giving up. It's taking charge. It's shifting the power with one simple refusal. Refusing to be played. Refusing to be undervalued. refusing to keep playing a rigged game. And in that refusal, you shatter the illusion that they ever controlled you. You don't storm out. You don't argue your case. You just disappear. And by doing that, you're the only one with agency. What they don't get is that presence is a form of currency. Every minute you spend, every bit of energy you give is an investment. And when that investment isn't returned or respected, you don't have to keep the transaction going. The moment you walk away, you take your value with you. Suddenly, they're broke, left with just the hollow shell of your past availability. Control comes from detachment, not confrontation. When you're emotionally tangled, you're predictable. You respond. You react. You can be provoked. But when you walk away and choose not to respond, you enter a place. Few understand indifference. Indifference is feared more than hate. Hate still acknowledges the other person exists. Indifference erases them. By removing yourself, you put the burden of response entirely on them. They're left with questions they can't answer, situations they can't control. You're no longer playing. They're performing for an empty crowd. And in that emptiness, they have to deal not just with you being gone, but with their inability to change it. You've got all the power because you have nothing to prove, no need to explain, and no obligation to return. This is true dominance, not through force, but through restraint. Walking away without threats or bitterness is a silent win. You assessed the situation, decided it wasn't worth it, and left. That decision alone crushes the power they thought they had over you. They can't get reactions or explanations anymore. Your presence is no longer a given. You're now unpredictable, which means you're powerful. Just watching you leave is a form of torture, not because of what you say, but what you don't say. They're left guessing, imagining, obsessing over your thoughts. Every moment you stay silent amplifies your absence. Every hour you don't come back is a reminder they've lost access to you. And that limited access elevates you. What's rare becomes valuable. What's distant becomes craved. Real control isn't physical. It's mental. When you leave on your own terms, you rewrite the story. You're not seeking approval anymore. You're the one being sought. They have to reach out, and every attempt just proves the terms have changed, not in their favor. Even those who once ignored you are now rethinking things. They're talking about you differently, with more respect and caution. Your exit is seen as a smart move, not an emotional reaction. Weak people can't just leave. They stick around, plead, compromise. But you didn't. That choice makes you dangerous. When you leave, you don't just create space. You create chaos. Your absence isn't just physical. It disrupts the emotional balance of those who expected you to stay. They expected you to comply, be familiar, repeat. But breaking that pattern with a deliberate exit triggers a mental domino effect. It starts with guilt, but not the good kind. It's the selfish guilt of losing a valuable resource and feeling the impact on your own comfort. They don't feel bad about how they treated you. They feel bad for underestimating your power to leave. Their guilt reflects their own arrogance. They recall the times they ignored you, dismissed you, used you. Now, those moments haunt them. They finally see clearly what they overlooked. Your patience, tolerance, unspoken sacrifices. But guilt alone doesn't lead to humility. It quickly turns to anger, the true face of entitlement when someone you controlled stops obeying. They're not mad you wronged them. They're mad you dared to break free. Your independence offends them. Your detachment wounds their pride. They expected you to stay quiet, loyal. Your departure is a betrayal of their illusion of control. So, they start rewriting history, twisting the truth, calling you cruel, selfish, cold. These aren't facts. They're desperate acts. Because the one who leaves calmly is a mirror they can't bear to look into. Your indifference highlights their dependence. Your silence exposes their own inner noise. What they can't control, they must attack. Their anger is the sound of lost control. But beneath that anger is something deeper. Fear. A creeping fear that starts not with thoughts, but with feelings. A tightness in the chest, a racing mind. A realization that their assumptions are no longer safe. You've changed the game. When they can't predict you, they get scared not just of you, but of what your exit means. They fear you'll rise, find your strength, and never look back. They fear you'll replace them with silence, or even something better. And that fear slowly poisons them. It makes them scroll through your name, reread old messages, mentally rehearse apologies they'll never say. They wonder if others will see what they missed in you, if others will benefit from the qualities they wasted. Fear makes them fragile. Their pride tells them to act unfazed, but fear keeps them up at night. They watch you from afar, pretending you're irrelevant, but secretly checking if you still matter. They try to provoke you indirectly, through silence, sudden attention, or pointed words to others. These aren't tactics, they're symptoms. You're now in their head, occupying space they can't control. You've become a presence through absence, a question mark in their once familiar world. Guilt haunts their past. Anger blinds their present. Fear clouds their future. These three emotions aren't random. They're the fallout from a power structure dismantled without notice. You didn't threaten. You didn't fight back. You simply walked away. And in doing so, you forced them to face what they'd ignored. You were never weak. You were just waiting. Some authority can't be shouted into existence. It doesn't come from speeches or declarations. It's not built through confrontation or chaos. Real power is quiet. It's the calm retreat from a world too loud to grasp its loss. When you choose silence, removing your voice from those who expected it, you do something more damaging than a fight. You let your silence speak for you. Silence isn't empty. It's stressful, and tension is unsettling. Those who dismissed your words are now haunted by your absence. The noise you used to make, explaining yourself, defending your worth, it only gave them something to push against. But the moment you go quiet, they have no target, no resistance, no energy to fuel their dominance. You no longer provide emotional fuel. You're off their stage. In that stillness, a shift happens. You're no longer accessible. You're untouchable. You're not reacting to their provocations or validating their importance with your attention. That withdrawal is power. It's a currency rarer than love, respect, or even fear. Love can be demanded, fear manufactured, but silence can't be taken. It has to be given, and once withheld, it's sacred. This silence forces them to face themselves. Without your voice, they must confront their own. Every decision, every word they aimed at you, now echoes back in their minds. They start interpreting their actions through the void you left. Doubts creep in. Insecurities grow. What they once justified with pride now festers in reflection. They wonder if you left because of them, and more dangerously, if you were right to do so. People fear what they can't measure. They don't fear loud threats or arguments. Those are familiar. They know how to fight noise with noise, but not what doesn't respond. When you speak, they analyze your tone. When you speak, they poke holes in your logic. But when you're quiet, nothing to read, nothing to crack, no signal to catch. Your silence is a dark mirror. They see themselves, and it freaks them out. While they're guessing what you'll do next, you're already winning. In the public eye, calm always looks more in control. Someone who leaves with dignity, we remember them with awe. Others are frantic, defending or attacking with bitter words. But you say nothing, and that makes them imagine. Your silence makes them guess your next move. Your name's whispered in closed rooms, voices low, eyes unsure. You're not there anymore. They can see, they can question, they can challenge. You're a mystery they can't unlock. Silence. Your ultimate weapon is uncertainty. People will fill the void you leave with their own fears and fantasies. They'll picture you happier, stronger, more capable. They'll assume you're thriving even if you're not, because your silence gives them no proof otherwise. In that space, they project power onto you, not because they know, but because they doubt. Doubt, used right, controls more minds than certainty ever will. That's the power paradox. The less you say, the more they talk about you. The less you explain, the more they try to figure you out. The less you react, the more they obsess. By doing nothing, you force them to act. By saying nothing, you command attention. And by completely withdrawing, you own their minds, not by force but by absence. When you step back, the world you left doesn't just forget you. It reacts. It scrambles. It goes from chill to desperate. What was ignored is now desperately sought. Those who brushed off your warnings, devalued you, or ignored your voice now scramble to get back what they wasted. But understand this, their chase isn't noble. It's not about being clear or sorry. It's a tactic. And the tactic is this: they must pull you back before your absence is final. When you were around, they could afford to ignore you. You were a given, not earned. But now that you're out of reach, their pedestal is crumbling. They feel the emptiness. They sense the shift. And most of all, they sense your dormant power is now awake. They won't admit that. Instead, they'll disguise their moves. They'll try to reconcile, play on your feelings, bring up old times, or offer apologies that are strategic, not sincere. These aren't about your healing. They're designed to break down your resistance. They need you to open that door again, because if it stays shut, they're locked out of the story, unable to control the ending. In these moments, their words are calculated. They talk about misunderstanding, regret, not realizing your value. But listen carefully, you'll notice what's missing. Rarely is there accountability, just vague hints and subtle manipulation. Their real goal? Not to uplift you, but to restore the old system that benefited them. They don't want to meet your new standards. They want to drag you back to the old ones you tolerated. If emotional pleas don't work, they'll switch to provoking you. Silence infuriates those who thrive on reactions, so they'll try to set you off. They might insult, mock, or shame you into coming back. This isn't real anger. It's a show to pull you back into the old conflict dance. Because the second you reply, explain, or defend, you're back in their grip. The moment you speak from emotion, you've lost the power of your silence. This cycle is ancient. It's the cycle of control. You leave, they panic. You stay quiet, they bait. You stay gone, they chase. But the chase isn't always physical. It's psychological. They use memories as tools, guilt as bait, and doubt as chains. They'll try to make you question yourself. Were you too harsh? Too cold? Did you overreact? These questions aren't from your conscience. They're the echoes of a system scared of falling apart. There's a special kind of cruelty in how they operate now. They might pull in others. Friends, family, even strangers, people who'll push you to talk it out. Give them another chance. Or stop being so distant. These messengers aren't neutral. Their job is the same, to pull you back. Not to growth, not to truth, but to the familiar. People often mistake familiar for safe, even when it's toxic. And they'll use every trick to get you back to that comfortable state, where they could control you. You need to get this: your departure didn't just threaten one person, but a whole system. And those who benefited won't let it collapse without a fight. They'll disguise their need as affection, their fear as love. But love doesn't fear your freedom. And that's exactly what they fear now, your freedom. The longer you're gone, the more obvious your independence becomes. The more visible it is, the less they can pretend you were ever theirs. They'll switch up their tactics. Some will beg. Others will go quiet, hoping their silence will make yours end. Some will try to match your strength, hoping to earn your respect. But these aren't real changes. They're performances, timed perfectly to win you back. Not because they've changed, but because your change shook them. Walking away isn't just leaving. It's shifting the power balance. It's withdrawing your energy, your presence, your compliance from a system that fed on it. And by doing so, you trigger reactions deeper than just disappointment. You expose their dependence. You reveal unspoken power dynamics. You shatter illusions. What people feel when you leave isn't about you. It's about what your absence forces them to face. Guilt for their neglect, anger over losing control, fear of becoming irrelevant. Your silence becomes a mirror and a weapon reflecting back what they denied. And when they realize they no longer hold the reins, they'll try harder to get them back. They want to regain their old power over you, not to reconnect, but to get you back under their thumb. But by then, it's game over. You're not the person anymore. who put up with their issues just to keep them around. You've finally learned the crucial lesson. Distance shows you what's real. Silence shows their true colors. And their absence teaches you their worth more than them being there ever did. When someone leaves without a fuss, no big speech, no begging you to stay, they've already said it all, no words needed.